We are back on Morning Line. Davidson County Sheriff Darren Hall with us, taking your phone call, 737-7587, just back from the Thanksgiving holiday. It's interesting, I asked him during the last segment about, law enforcement and the inmates that may come in. I was doing a story this morning where there was a sheriff's deputy, I believe in, I think it was Warren County maybe, that was taking an inmate that was suffering from withdrawal from drugs to the hospital. And she got her treatment there. And I think she liked the digs at the hospital better than her cell. So when they went to get her back, she fought back, and they got the handcuff on one, and she broke away with the cuff still loose on the other end, and hit the deputy right there in the neck. Fortunately, he was at the hospital. He was not seriously injured, fortunately, but it was crazy. I don't know if you've ever seen that before, where they were only able to get one cuff on, and the other one she pulled away, and then all of a sudden you've got kind of, it's like, a mace. You're swinging this thing, and they took two other deputies to get her down, and now, of course, she's back and serving more time for assault on an officer, but that happened over the weekend. And I just think about some of the crazy stuff that happens when a deputy is transporting an inmate, and the handcuff, that would hurt.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, that's one of the more dangerous things that we do. Hospitals just aren't a secure environment. You can imagine what's laying around. You've got the public and usually in the hallways, and we're going to be at the council tonight, the Budget and Finance Committee, and the council tomorrow night on a death of an inmate. I guess it was probably 3.5 years ago, and it was a use of force incident at the hospital. But the interesting part of that was he was restrained to the bed, which is how we do that, one restraint. And in this case, this guy had been using bath salts and was recently arrested previously and that night. And was acting out with the police department, acting out with us. We had sprayed him twice trying to get him under control. Nothing was working. He kicks himself out of the leg restraint. I've never seen that happen. So he literally broke the restraint, as you can imagine. And so just trying to get him subdued and under control in an environment like a hospital is very tough to do. He ends up dying over the next 6 weeks with a lot of different excited delirium types of conditions because he had so much going on in the system. But one of the things that we're doing in our new design here that it kind of reminds me of what you're talking about is, a hospital, when you go into the public setting, which I'm sure was in Warren County and here now, we take inmates to the hospital. What you'd prefer to have is one of those type of units built in your jail, because there's so many people who are coming in that are shot or car wrecks or could be injured or ingesting drugs or coming off of all sorts of issues, and you really don't like taking them out of the environment and having to put them in a public setting. And we have inmates that are on dialysis. We have to take them over to the public clinic, sit in front of, and God knows whatever the charges are. You can't restrain them while they're going through dialysis 3 times a week. You have to take the restraints off. So how would you like to be sitting in the room having your dialysis, and we're bringing in Paul Reed to have his done, or Perry March, or whoever else?
How about that? Yeah. And you guys have to stand there, so you're supervising them.
He can't be secured because you got to have the.
So you got deputies there who are armed.
Right. It's terrible. It's an uncomfortable setting. So we're going to build in our new jail where you would be able to do most of those services. Obviously not surgeries, but most of those services would be provided in the jail, which prevents us from having to move. But it's a dangerous place to be out there in the hospital setting.
All right, let's get to some more phone calls. We'll go next to Paul. Paul, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Nick. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, Paul.
Sheriff, I just heard what you said. I've been on dozens and dozens of holiday posts, that hospital posts with inmates. It is a dangerous thing. I've had a few incidents too, and concerning you, Nick, about the story you did in Warren County, it could be some kind of procedure or something that was dropped. The sheriff is correct. You're supposed to have at least one appendage handcuffed to the bed. Of course, the other appendages are not, and the sheriff's right. I've had dangerous inmates that's had EKGs done, and I've had to take the restraints off of them, and it is a testy situation. But I'm going to make a comment, Nick. You're talking about won't eat some inmate food. Lord have mercy, my friend. I probably ate hundreds, not thousands, of inmate trays when I was a correction officer and a sergeant in segregation. And all I can tell you is, Nick, it's a acquired taste, my friend. That's all I can tell you. And a final comment, Nick, you're probably going to see my brother on TV before too long. Do you know the incident down in Tullahoma where the juvenile killed the National Guard guy, Nick.
Yeah, right.
My brother got appointed to that case, and he's going to be that kid's lawyer in the court. He was appointed. Now, he didn't take it, but he's going to be a lawyer in the court. His name's Steve Garner, and he actually knows the sheriff from CCA.
I know Steve well.
You know
I'm
Steve?
glad to hear that. Yeah, he was a great guy, a good lawyer, too.
Yeah, Steve Garner, and we got a mutual friend, too, Sheriff, Warren Ford. I used to work with Warren. He's in your investigation department, too, and I'm good friends with Warren.
Yeah.
But I was going to tell you, Nick, you'll probably see my brother on TV for too long.
Well, Paul, you tell your brother when he's ready to do an interview to give me a call, okay? He and his client.
I'll sure do it, Nick.
That would be awesome.
And thank you, and God bless you to you and the Sheriff.
Hey,
All
Paul,
right.
tell
Thank
Steve
you, Paul.
I said hello. That's a great guy.
Well, I'll do it, Sheriff. Bye-bye.
All right, take care.
Thank you, sir.
That's great.
Is there a procedure when you handcuff someone? I mean, they were handcuffing. They got one on, but I mean, you got to do one at a time. You can't do them at the same time unless you have two guards there, right?
Right.
So if she just all of a sudden pulls away and surprises you, I don't know what you do
Yeah,
about
I think
that.
you could do, and even restrooms, you get other situations
Yeah,
where it could be a problem. But Paul's right. It's a dangerous setting when you're in a non-secure place like a hospital trying to secure somebody. It's a tough place.
Yeah. Let's go to Sheila. Hi, Sheila.
Good morning, Nick. How you doing?
Good. Good to hear from you, Sheila. How are you?
I just got back from Knoxville yesterday morning.
All right. You have a good Thanksgiving?
Yes, I did. I didn't want to come back, though, but
Well, welcome back. What's on your mind?
I want to say happy holidays to the sheriff.
Well, happy holidays to you, Sheila.
Do you remember me? I know you remember me.
I do remember you.
did. How do you know the sheriff?
I met him downtown a couple years ago, honey.
Does
Yeah.
that ring a, you know who I'm talking about here? You know
Yeah,
Sheila?
I know Sheila. What, do you not know Sheila?
Oh, I know Sheila.
Well, I
yeah,
do too.
I know Sheila. I mean, she.
You're not the only one that Sheila knows.
Well,
I mean, she's a nice person.
She's a character.
She's a character.
You won't find a bigger Titans fan anywhere.
All right.
Sheila's a sweetie
We
pie.
should ask her if she was out in that rain yesterday.
No, well, she was gone, or she might have
No, that's
been.
right,
She
that's
might
right,
have been.
that's right.
She's been to a few games this year. Sheila, happy holidays to you as well. Thanks for calling. Let's go next to Anna. Anna, good morning.
Hello, Nick.
Hey, Anna, how are you?
Good, Nick. Hello, Sheriff Hall.
Hey, Anna, how are you?
I am so good. I have a few questions and a quick comment. Sheriff, I would like for you to touch a little bit. I live in Macon County, and I know you're familiar with Sheriff Gammons here in Macon County.
Yeah.
And we've had issues this year, really bad issues with animal abuse. We actually had my neighbor, did not know this. If I knew this, it would not be this way. 17 counts of animal abuse. As far as your county goes, thank goodness for Davidson County and your resources and being able to get to people. What I want you to touch on is, real quick, how can people recognize when to call in if they feel that an animal is being abused or neglected? And also the law about a child. When someone has a baby, there was something out in California today. They found a child yesterday buried in cement. It was only a few days old, wrapped in a hospital blanket, when they could have left them at the hospital. Instead, whoever had this child took them out and buried this child.
Awful.
And touch a little bit on that law for us, will you? That, you know what, if a young girl's having a child and she can't take care of that child, take it to a safe place.
Yeah, safe haven law.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't even know that. That's actually a good thing to bring
You
out.
surrender the baby within that period of time, whoever you may be, and no questions asked. You walk away. No one's going to mess with you.
Yeah, and that's happened. I mean, even here in town.
Sure it has.
Yeah,
it's a big story when it does,
right.
but it's wonderful when they. Well, it's not. It's horrible that it has to come to something like that. But boy, that sure beats the heck out of harming the child.
Yeah, and I think that's a fantastic law, by the way. I mean, it really is.
Smart.
It needs to give people the peace of mind that you know, who knows what state of mind a young woman could be in, and wanting that to be the answer, which I think is a great idea. You know,
well, that's what they talked about with Lindsay Lowe. You know, that high-profile case where we don't know exactly her mental state, but she's serving life in prison. You remember, we did that gavel to gavel of the two newborns. All she would have had to do was gather them up and leave them on the step of a firehouse or something, or at a hospital.
Right.
They find it, she's home free.
I would love to know if she knew there was a law.
I wonder.
I mean, at the time all that's going on, I mean, I'm sure people have reminded her, but it's just, you know, young people, and there's a lot going on, and I just, man, what it would change not only the children's life, obviously, and there are stories where the mother later on goes back and can, I believe it even happened here. You know,
maybe once you get your life in order, maybe try to get back with the child, and if you can convince them that.
And it wasn't long. It was like a year. So you know, it wasn't like, you know, many years later. And so who knows? You get on your feet and you get your mental state at a place where you want to take responsibility. I just think that's be a really good education for us all to get young people aware of that in case it ever, you know, puts you through the. You know, Anna brings up the whole animal cruelty situation. I mean. You just don't. And I think the media has done a really good job with this over the years of really exposing how serious that is. And I mean, for people and what it means to people in the community. And I just I often say, you just don't want to be caught mistreating an animal. And I would hope that for the media and for the public that you know, they understand that there are laws out there that, and clearly they're going to be enforced when it happens. And you get in these smaller counties where they may not have the resources to actually do that. I'm sure that's a frustration and a difficulty in a town.
I was wondering too. I was going to ask you. I'm glad she brought the question up about, you know, what the sheriffs do. Now, I wonder how you would react. Animal Rescue Corps, and my wife actually volunteers with them. A lot of people do. They're the ones that come in, and, you know, when we've done the stories, they usually have a warehouse in Lebanon where they have these animal rescues. It's really one of two ways. They go and hit a hoarder, or they hit the puppy mills, and there are several here that they've done. Now, if they go into a hoarding situation and actually confront the person, and that person willingly lets them in, then they'll go in and take the animals away. And sometimes the people are happy for the help because they've just lost track of things. They're not bad people. They just kind of lost screw loose. Other times they'll go and they'll say, get off my property, in which case then they get a vet and others to go and get a warrant, and then with the sheriff are accompanied on with the warrant to rescue these animals. And I know that many sheriffs in this state, according to Animal Rescue Corps, have cooperated, but recently there have been a few in some of these outer-lying counties that are just hesitant to make the move, even though it's clear, and they won't help them. And they can't go in and do it without the sheriff helping get the warrant and the DA. And it seems like sometimes you've got these sheriffs in the smaller counties or the DAs that are afraid of their own shadow, and they don't want to do this, and they figure it's just animals. I'm not going to do this. So what do you do? Now, I know you're an animal lover. If Animal Rescue Corps came to you and said, we need a warrant, and you had proof that their animal's abusing, I'm assuming you have a spine and will sign on and go with them to do this. Right?
And I tell you,
why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I'm not defending it because I don't know, but I suspect in some of these smaller counties where it's more rural, I think that confuses it a little bit there. And I'm saying that because you have the farms and you have a lot of different animals, and I'm not saying that that changes the law, but you get in a town like, or a city like Nashville, where there is a lot of resources, the rescues, and there's a lot of attention on. I mean, we have, of course, an animal control center. We have folks out doing enforcement of that. You get in these smaller towns, and I suspect that's very difficult to get a full understanding of. I do think you're seeing some changes. I mean, I think in Sumner County, the sheriff's office took over animal control. A lot of counties around the country, we were going to do that here just a few years ago. And the purpose is to kind of support the enforcement of animal cruelty laws. That's really what it's about. And obviously the control of the center. But I think it does help, quite frankly, to have an enforcement arm where folks are out in the community, and if there's some sort of event that takes place. And but I think Sumner County's been successful. There are others around the country where the sheriff's office, and quite frankly, politically, it's a huge thing because.
Well, I think that may be at the heart of it. You were going to say these people with the animals and their family are voters.
Yes, wow.
And so maybe they don't. And in some of these small counties, a small constituency can sway a vote. I don't know. It's just a shame when you see animals then suffering because of it. And there has to be a legit purpose. I'm not saying willy-nilly, but groups like Animal Rescue Corps then take care of the animals. It's not left in the saddle of the sheriff's department, which you're right, doesn't have the resources to house or adopt them out. Yeah, that's not their job.
We just did last week. We do it, I guess, about every 8 weeks. But Emmylou Harris was out, and we did our graduation of our program called Second Chances. And basically, we take animals that are in animal control and rescue them out and assign them to unfit mothers, women who are in custody, who haven't been really very good parents. And so we put this puppy with the mother.
Interesting.
And for 8 weeks, we allow the mother to be a better mother and hopefully the puppy to be socialized. And after the 8 weeks, we adopt the animal out. and then obviously the mother of and the inmate in our situation, we believe, isn't better prepared to be released as well. We've partnered with Emmylou Harris because she started a program called Bonaparte's Retreat.
Bonaparte's Retreat, yeah.
And they basically were willing to take the animals after we had trained them to the rescue.
Cool.
The interesting part is we haven't needed to do that because they get adopted, and most of the time it's our staff, but we put them out to the public because they fall in love with the animals.
Take them on.
It's
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's called a failed foster.
Yeah.
You know, you want to foster, and then I'm going to keep this
stuck.
dog.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm good. Yeah.
All right, let's go to Cindy. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
I have a question for the sheriff. How are you doing this morning?
Yes, ma'am. I'm doing great, Cindy. How are you?
Okay, I'm doing just fine, hon. I have a serious question.
Okay.
Anyway, how do y'all feel about these tinted windows? What is going on with these jet dark tinted windows to where you can't see nothing in the car? And they pull up into your driveway for no odd reason. They sit out there for like 5 or 10 minutes. I'm thinking, well, it's not a cop, so I go out there. My cousin told me not to, and I did. What are you doing here? You know, I don't even know why you would pull here. Why didn't you say, I want to answer my cell phone? I go, well, you can answer your cell phone on down the road. You didn't have to, you don't have to stop to answer your cell phone in my driveway. But, you know, you pull up to a store, all of a sudden, here they come, and them jet black tinted windows, you can't see in them, and you think, okay, a snatch and grab is going to happen. But then I wonder about the cops and their safety. How do they feel when they pull someone over and they can't see what's going on? If they're going to pull a weapon, or how many men or women are in that vehicle, and what could happen to the safety of his life?
Yeah. Yeah, tinted window, I mean, I think if you ask law enforcement, they'd assume them all be outlawed. It's just too hard to tell the different levels. Obviously, there's
Is there a threshold that's illegal, right?
Yes, and I forget the numbers, but obviously it has a numerical amount of tint. And I mean, most cars are now factory tinted, you know, the tint on a lot of especially the rear windows on most vehicles. But if you ask just a law enforcement person, they would prefer, and Cindy's right, it's a danger issue. You'd like to see in the vehicle, like to see who's in the car. But obviously that's not the law today, and I do think it's hard to enforce. My nephew is, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago was pulled over for having too dark a tint in his car, and literally had.
Do you think you can tell by looking at a car, Sheriff?
I can.
You can say, yeah, that one clearly is too dark. But I mean, it's subjective if you're driving and you just happen to look. I mean, so it's hard. You're right. It's hard to enforce.
I mean, I have a SUV, my personal car, and my back windows are factory tint. It's not. I haven't done anything to them, and you can't see in those really from the back. The passenger driver's side is not tinted, but and you know, I have a 20-year-old, and he had his car tinted a couple years ago, and it's, you know, they give you a little seal that says it meets the legal requirement, and it's, you know, you can see shades, but you can't see.
Yeah, I've seen some of them that almost look like one-way mirrors.
Yes.
Meaning, but it's not complete. You can imagine if the whole outside, you could do that, and it's just mirrors, and you can't. But it's kind of like it's frosted, heavy on the top, and then thinner as you get down. And I wonder if that's almost a loophole around it, because for all intents and purposes, you look and you see it's like a mirror. You're looking at yourself. Now, it's a little bit open at the bottom.
Right.
So where's the line? Yeah, that's too dark here, but it's clear down here. Of course, you're not going to see anything down there. And that's what I worry about. Even if I see it, I see what she's saying. I just worry if I'm walking up there and there's someone in there pointing a gun at me through the window, and I have no idea.
Right.
Or they've got narcotics and they're stashing them and hiding them before you pull them over. Or they've got booze and they've been drinking and driving, and then they stash it under before. Who knows?
Yeah, it's just not a good thing. I mean, it's to
why
me.
Do people have tinted windows then? I'm just wondering why. You know, privacy, and I understand. I don't really understand why I'd want tinted windows. I mean, does it help reduce glare?
Can you tell
driving?
me why there's a radar detector?
Well, yeah, the answer is to break the law, right?
I've never understood it. Why do we sell a radar detector?
Why do we what?
Sell them. I mean,
So,
how do you
I mean, they're
allow
legal
this?
in some states, illegal in others.
Right.
I've been in cars with radar detectors before.
Oh yeah. I mean, I just don't understand how you sell them. I don't know.
Yeah,
how
because
that's
it's the only purpose for that is to allow you to speed. So tinted windows. Do you think if someone's got heavily tinted windows, they're hiding something?
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I was a teenager once, and I wanted the coolest thing out, whatever that was, and you know,
maybe a look to it. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's a shame that it also, because I can understand that side of it, but it also is a very dangerous thing, especially like I said, knocking on the window and pulling someone over, and you're really putting yourself in harm's way completely without being able to see in. But I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Probably not. All right, let's go to Marilyn. Hi, Marilyn.
Hello.
Good morning. How can we help you?
Yes, my husband and I had domestic violence. I had it, and they charged me with domestic violence. Okay, we are both disabled, and what I can't understand is how I got locked up and he didn't. I guess he pressed charges. I know he did. We went to court, and we both disabled, and I had to do 6 months in CCA because of domestic violence. But I did not hit him or anything. It was just verbal. And I just couldn't understand that. So then, when I got out of CCA, I went to my daughter's house and stayed. My husband told me to come back home. Okay, he apologized and all that, but that don't make me feel good, because the place that I was in, that I had never been incarcerated and never seen all of this stuff go on, that affected me mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah, a lot of issues in that one. I think, you know, the court would handle why you got 6 months. That's a long sentence, actually.
Yeah, I wonder if it was the first time or the other circuit. That seems like a lot
it is.
for
a non-verbal or
non-physical, she says,
situation. But you know, your lawyer and your court, the DA and your lawyer agreed to some agreement, and you would have had to be involved, or you were convicted by a jury, and then that's the sentence part of it. But once in today's world, I'm going to just tell you, domestic violence is a huge issue, and so if you have that label in your charge in a courtroom or a jury, it's changed dramatically. We always say in our business, O.J. Simpson really started that. I mean, that was really where it became a public conversation right after his situation, and you know, we have programs here that started after that, dealing with the batterers and dealing with others. But it's a you know, the sentencing structure around domestic violence is a little bit like DUI. I mean, it kind of really ramped up, and it's been a very aggressive thing. And but even 6 months sounds...
That's unusual, especially, you know, it can happen both sides, we know it, but it's usually the male that's the batterer. And she says it went both ways, but I'm wondering, when we talk about locking people up, and I think we lock too many people up for... I have no problem locking up people that really are the serious threats, but I mean, if she is a disabled, elderly female with a verbal, you know, domestic, getting 6 months, come on, there's something missing from that picture, or that's just screwy.
Right. No, I agree with that.
So we don't know, but I mean, a lot of people these days, you're right. I don't know, are they locking people up more for domestic because of the toughening of the laws? Because I still see folks out there driving when they shouldn't be after they've had DUIs. And really the only way, you can restrict their license, pull that doesn't stop anyone from driving. No. The only way you keep someone from driving who's not ready to address their drinking problem is to lock them up.
Right.
And you can't lock up all the drunks.
Right.
I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we do a lot of really silly things around that law. One of them is that we make the fines to get a license, and once you get a DUI, to me, the issue is that you're addicted to drinking. That's what it is. I mean, the vast majority of people who are arrested for DUI have a drinking problem. It's not happy hour or two on the way home. Everybody, you know, says that. It's not true. The reality of it is that you have some sort of addiction to alcohol most of the time if you have a DUI. The average person can't blow a .20. I mean, they think the number, it's not how much you drink oftentimes, it's how much your body can handle. And if you're, you know, it's a holiday party and you swung by and had too many glasses of wine, you're not going to blow a 2.24 or 2.6 or 2.
When it's that high, what are we talking about? How much?
I mean, the average person that, and there's not expertise in this, but there's enough research that says that, you know, there are people. I remember I was in Kentucky working one time years ago, and there was a man who literally blew a .40. Well, you're dead legally. Hang
tight on that, because I want to talk more about it. We have to take a quick break, and I want to pick up where you left off on that. .4. Oh, how's he even conscious? Maybe he wasn't. We'll take a break. Be back with more of your calls in our final segment of our conversation with Sheriff Hall right after this. Stay with us.